I check it like you read Singh bowling it, yeah? I really don't mind.
You hit me once, I hit you back.
He's bowling like my Auntie Annie when she'd had too much sherry to drink.
Played over my head, then I set fire.
मैंने कहा बेटा बेटा होता है और बाप बाप होता है.
So just to lighten it a bit, we talked about so many people you've played against, and this is a very short, maybe a one answer question. So
you're expecting me to give one word.
Okay. Because the question is designed like that. The question is designed like that. We want you to sort of like pick one drink or a cocktail or a liquor type for each of these 5 batsmen.
Yes.
Sachin Tendulkar. What drink would you associate with him?
Look, Sachin is a well-aged red wine. And he's, by the way, eaten in my restaurant with, he came in with Yuvi a couple of months ago. So
interesting.
But yeah, a well-aged red is Sachin.
Right. Stephen Smith.
Stephen Smith is fizzy. I think it's a champagne.
Okay.
He's probably more gangster rap sort of champagne. So he's a Cristal. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Brian Lara.
Lara is definitely on the edgier side. I'm going like an old fashioned. So it's a dark spirit based. He stands in the corner of the room. It's a little bit moody and he's just sipping on it.
Okay. Right. Rahul Dravid then.
You know what? If Rahul's in the room, he can drink whatever he wants to drink, as far as I'm concerned, and I'll give him whatever he wants.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Class. We're talking all class.
Okay. Last, Alistair Cook.
Alistair Cook. Sir Alistair Cook, you mean? Right. So, Cookie, let me tell you, I know you said one-word answers, but I played against this guy when he was still at school. Nottinghamshire versus Essex. He belted me that day. He belted me every single time he ever played against me. I used to like bowling to left-handers until I came across Alistair Cook. He's a nasty piece of works with the bat in his hand, but always used to say sorry, which is so funny. He's also a red, but I think he is probably more a Rhone blend or something like that. We got a GSM, Grenache Shiraz Mourvèdre or something like this. He likes to think he likes the big, meaty Boston Reds, but he doesn't. He's way more delicate than that, and by the way, he's cool. I like Alistair Cook a lot.
Great. So now to the next question, Stuart, and I'm just glad that I'm not in front of your car. 2005 Ashes series, and going to the series, we thought Australia is going to win, easy peasy, and especially after that first test match. And suddenly on this first morning of the second test match, McGrath hurts his ankle, and then English bowlers kind of get their reverse swing going, bowling some really heavy balls, as they call it. Do you think those were the reasons why Poms won, or English won, as they call it?
No, I'll tell you. So, we talk about the reverse swing that was, on show, courtesy of the English bowlers that tour. So, Australia had not lost an Ashes series for 17 years.
Yeah,
we didn't prepare the way that a team entering a serious competition should prepare. England, on the other hand, did. The reverse swing, they'd commissioned a research project from NASA to learn how to, True story. You can find it online. Look up NASA reverse
All the
swing.
data.
It's on there. It's free. It's done. So they'd prepared the right way. We just didn't. That first Test match at Lords, where we did win, McGrath got 8. I think he got 5 for 1 or 6 for 1 just after tea on day 4 or something like that. And the Australian team was carrying on as though they'd won the Ashes. It was always an issue that I'd had with some of the English teams in the preceding 17 years. There's that saying, you may have won the battle, but you haven't won the war. We were carrying on after that Lord's Test as though we'd won the Ashes. And it was like, hang on a second, let's go back through that Test match. Ricky Ponting got hit in the head for the first time in his career. Harmison cut him. He still has the cut on his cheek. If McGrath hadn't done what he did just after tea on that day, we were not in great shape that Test match. Going into that Ashes series, I'd played county cricket for 3 years. I went, okay, I want to play at the Oval, I want to play at Old Trafford, and I want to play at Edgbaston. Edgbaston was an unusual one because people at that stage didn't really know how big it turned. But when I say it turns big, the screen is not wide enough for me to show you. It turns big there. I think Warnie actually got 12 wickets in that Test match after McGrath rolled his ankle. Going into the last Test match at the Oval, we needed to win that Test match to retain the Ashes. We couldn't have won the series, but we could have drawn the series and thus retained the Ashes. And I have no idea why I didn't play. You want to take wickets? Sure, I might have gone for runs. And you know what? Maybe we wouldn't have won. But if you want to win, I got to play. And it was John Buchanan. It was John Buchanan's fault that I didn't play at Edgbaston. It was John Buchanan's fault that I didn't play at the Oval. And John Buchanan on that tour basically got an airfare, accommodation, and an inflated wage for being a failure.
Seems like John Buchanan isn't on your Christmas card list.
What's a Christmas card?
So Stuart, Australia, if you ask any player, they say beating Australia is the highlight of their career. Not just because you have to beat them purely on skills, but you need to be mentally strong as well. And as part of that, sledging sometimes is, as Steve used to call mental disintegration, played a big part in that. Did you at any point of time, or do you recollect any instance or any incident where you got the batsman out through probably a sledge or just getting inside his head?
Oh. Look, people always think that Test cricket, there's a lot of sledging. If you sledge Brian Lara, you're a moron. No, because, or if you sledge Steve Waugh, you're a moron. These guys might walk out to bat tired, emotionally drained, defeated even. You don't want to wake them up. That is the last thing you want to do. I agree with the mental disintegration description, because the players who you might consider having a go at are the ones who have been having a go at themselves. And that's why mental disintegration is a good description. So I would generally always pick on a young guy. So if you've just walked out to bat in one of your first games in first class cricket or international cricket, you do have doubt. And why wouldn't you? It's it makes complete sense. But it's like picking, liken it to picking a scab. It's just like scratch a little, scratch a little, scratch a little. Let's see what happens. Oh, damn it! I shouldn't have done that. Now I'm bleeding. I remember saying to one kid, New South Wales was playing against Victoria, and there was a young kid came in, and when I say young kid, he must have been 20, early 20s, but McGrath was bowling to him. And so what I would generally do is not necessarily, by the way, I would definitely talk directly to umpires, but that's a different thing altogether. But in terms of talking to the batsman, what I'd normally do if we were going to have a go was I would talk to other people in my team loudly enough so that the batsman heard. So I remember McGrath bowling to this young bloke. It was his first or second game. And I said, Pidge, don't be too hard on him. The last time he saw you play, he paid for a ticket. Now, the reality is that the last time he'd seen him play, he paid for a ticket. So, and that to me is the key, because then the batsman's standing there going, he's right. And so then, because what you want them to do is think of anything else other than watching the red thing. And that's why the mental disintegration comment is appropriate. Apparently in the 50s and 60s and 70s, they would say loud enough so the batsman could hear, talking amongst themselves in the slips, oh, he's obviously been working on his grit. It doesn't look the same as it did last time we played him. And then, trust me, the batsman then is looking down going, have I changed? Oh, no, I have. What? And it kills them. And once you get people doubting themselves, then you're in the game. Yeah. The other thing that I will say about sledging is that one of the most taboo aspects of sledging apparently is the send-off. Now, from a bowler's point of view, when I get you out, I want you to remember it. And the next time you walk out to bat, I want you to walk out to bat thinking about the last time I got you out. I'm a big fan of a send-off. I would much rather remind you as you're walking off the field. And I would even go so far as to go and have a drink with you in the changing rooms at the end of the day and say, oh, how lucky was I today? Can you believe I got you out? I'm so rubbish, and yet I got you out today. Because I want you thinking about it day and night until the next time we play. And then when you stride out to bat the next time, you're going to be thinking about it. And so what you're going to be doing is you're going to be trying to prove to me that it was an accident and I'm not good enough. That means I've already won. And that's why send off to me, it's just like, oh, by the way, you thought I was shit. You're out. Bye-bye.
Oh, I think as Indian fans, it used to boil our blood when you used to see the Aussies sledging away at a Sachin or a Dravid, because we used to think these guys are a bunch of nice guys who are not going to give it back. But now, as we grown older, we really enjoy that part of the game, the little bit of banter between the players. It really adds an edge to the game, which is fun to watch on TV for a fan as well.
Well, let me say this. Let me say this to you. So, for instance, with Sachin and Dravid, for example, when you see Australian players in that period of time having a go at guys like that, there is a huge amount of frustration. And that's part of the reason if I started sledging a batsman when I was bowling to him, if I were the batsman, I'd have kind of had this little smug grin and gone, got him, nailed him, he's finished. Because much the same as I just said to you about the send-off, if you're thinking about me and you're not thinking about the red thing, I've already won. When you're bowling, if you're talking too much to the batsman, some of the worst times I ever bowled. Look, I think it was in Adelaide. Yeah, it was in Adelaide when Laxman and Dravid made bazillions in 2003. As I said, I'd become friends with Laxman in the year before when he was playing club cricket in Sydney. Hit the ball back to me. I picked it up and I threw it at him because I was just trying to get something out of it, right? And, I didn't throw it at the stumps. I threw it at him. And he backed away and he looked at me straight in the face. He laughed at me and he said, "Come on, Stewie, I know you're a nice man." I was just like, oh.
What have I done?
Yeah, what have I? Do you know what? Exactly. What have I done? He just, right then, he knew, because he knew that I loved him. So like, he knew that I loved him. So he knew straight away then, I got him right here, he's toast. And that's why the Australians, who, even like with Harbhajan, there was some issues there for a period of time. I said to all of the guys in my team, and I didn't play in any of those test matches, but I said to all of the guys that were involved, I said, what's really interesting to me, the only guys that he ever sledges are the ones that get offended. They were the only ones he ever talked to, because my relationship with him is, I think he's a great man. I always got along with him like $1,000,000. Ganguly, loved the guy. Like dead set, loved the guy. I think that Australians who are sensitive, because maybe they've never been used to being pushed before, but they're the ones that you can get. And they're the ones that I'd probably have a go at too. So, but you don't have a go at somebody who doesn't get offended,
Makes sense.
At all.
So, Stuart, if you look at the international arena right now, we see as leg spinners probably only Yasir Shah on the test scenario, and probably Rashid Khan when you consider T20 as well.
Sure.
Why aren't there many leg spinners coming through? Is it because it is one of the
it's very
most
easy,
difficult
man.
art?
It's a very, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it's very, very easy to answer the question. Mate, it's unforgiving. You have to be a different sort of person. Like, I never cared about what anybody said about me. The only thing that I cared about was taking wickets as quickly as I could. Shane Warne never cared whether he was on the front page or on the back page of the paper. Never cared. Didn't care. All he was playing cricket for was to be better than you. And he was. He was better than anyone. He was, all of the players that I admire the most were doing it for, it was for ego. And I know that can be misconstrued now. People might think that ego is a bad thing, but it's your motivation. It's the reason, if it's a competition, and cricket is pretty much one-on-one, I want you to know that I beat you. And that's the only reason we played. And unfortunately, nowadays, it's very, very difficult for kids to take a deep breath and to plough on. And that's why I do think that I'd like to see Swepson getting a game. Nathan Lyon also needs to be, doff my cap to him at this point as well, because you look back through his career and count how many times he's been dropped. And if you tell someone they're no good, but they keep coming back, I think ultimately that makes the player. And wrist spin bowling is a horrible, horrible thing to do. I didn't let my son, my son's 17, I wouldn't let him bowl wrist spin. So I just said to him, no, it's just not an option for you. And when I catch him bowling spin in the nets, I lose it. I just said, it's not happening. But I think it's a tough game. If Swepson bowls like he has done during the first class matches this season for Queensland, he's won 2 games for Queensland this season, which is very unusual for a wrist spin bowler for Queensland. If he bowls like he has done this year, he's worthwhile. He's definitely worthwhile. Yes, he is a great bowler. I worry when their technique in limited overs cricket bleeds into their test careers. I don't think you should bowl differently, but quite often most of them do nowadays. I have spent a lot of time with a couple of guys from England, Mason Crane, Matt Critchley, Matt Parkinson, all good. Ish Sodhi from New Zealand, also good. But for one reason or another, none of them have managed to nail it yet. But they've all got what you need. It's funny, actually, in the UK, there are a whole bunch of wrist spin bowlers going around, which is very surprising. But I think they get a lot of support, and I like watching them play.
I think that makes a lot of sense. What about any other upcoming players in the Aussie first class system? How about Pope, I guess, is also...
Look, people have talked a lot about Lloyd Pope. I've seen him bowl a little bit. I think, unfortunately for Lloyd Pope, there was a lot of hype surrounding him when he started in that under-19s tournament. Every time he goes out to bowl, people think he's going to be Shane Warne. I wish he had the opportunity to just develop naturally, organically, because he's got all the toys, he's got all the tools. Stepping outside of spin, Cameron Green has to play the first Test match. He's a superstar. You bowl at 145 and bat in the top 4. You don't think twice before you pick that guy, man. He's a special player. I wasn't excited at all when Tim Paine was picked as the wicketkeeper captain of Australia. But the way that his game has improved, anybody who has a go at him now, today, I'll have them. They also shouldn't walk in front of the car. Because, man, he's done it. I'm not talking about this man management rubbish, because if you've got a good cricket team, all of the guys should look after themselves anyway. I'm talking about the way that he's conducted himself, the way that his game has developed, not just his keeping, but his batting. He'd made one first-class 100 in 10 years prior to his selection for Australia. And now he's batting very well. And I think he's up to maybe 4 or 5. He's doing a good job, Tim Paine, and yeah, he's a lovely bloke too. So I kind of like the nice guys too. It's the opposite to me.
We think you're a nice guy too, Stuart.
Yeah. Look, you can edit that out if you want. That's fine.
He'd be nice enough to accommodate us here.
So just to round off the discussion today, maybe we can now just shift track to India versus Australia, because that's the upcoming.
So, Stuart, how do you think ODI and T20 series have gone on? Has that been according to your expectations? Because I thought India should have won the ODI series, but it kind of got reversed. How was it according to you?
No, look, I have to admit, I totally agree. I think Rohit being out is a huge problem. In Australia, there's a lot of focus on Virat Kohli, as you can imagine, because my son went to see the game the other night at the SCG, and I said to him, I hope you understand how lucky you are to be watching this man play cricket, because it's like watching Bradman play. So this is something that maybe is a once in a lifetime sort of thing. This is a special player. But if India had everybody available in the one day, in the limited overs format, Rohit not playing is a debacle. Equally, I am convinced that due to the lockdown and the quarantine period, Virat not being able to return after the birth of his child is going to be devastating for India in the Test series. Mainly not because they don't have the stock to replace. Well, mind you, so how do you replace Bradman? But you've got the stock to do the job, because you don't have to average 100 to win a Test match for your team. So it's not that there's not the stock there to fill in. It's just more the disruption and the dramatic impact that him being away from the team is going to have. I must say, though, that I'm very proud of him for doing what he's doing, because he'll play another Test match. But there's one birthday. So I fully support what he's doing. It's just a bummer that times are such that he can't get it all done. But man, do you know what? I'm actually almost pleased that he gets to spend not just one day with his wife and newborn child, but he gets to spend a couple of weeks now. I think it's even better. So it makes me smile, but not because I think Australia's going to win courtesy of that event. And in fact, if I were playing for Australia, it wouldn't count as much if he wasn't playing. So, it's almost cheating. So, but, I think that's going to be a problem. I think you'd be hard-pressed to go past India in short-form cricket at the moment. England is ferocious because they just go. It's almost, I was going to say there are no tactics, but that's not true. the tactic is to win every single game as quickly as they possibly can. So that is a tactic, but it's ferocious. But if you go India and England, New Zealand has a different tactic, and they'll compete until the last ball. Australia, I still think, is trying to find itself. I don't think it's, I think they're still trying to find themselves, really. Even though they've done quite well in the ODIs and that final T20. But the test matches are where India's going to bleed, I think, because, well, mind you, you've got Ravi running the show now, which is actually, it's not just Virat Kohli that's done a big job. Ravi's clearly had a massive influence on this team because you have to respect him. He's not particularly demonstrative. He doesn't, he's respectful of them, but you have to do what he says because that's Ravi Shastri. Come on. So I think that, look, maybe there's a chance. I got to say, if India managed to win this Test series, it would be an intensely remarkable operation, and it would pretty much steal this team, this Indian team, in the history of cricket for me, because without Virat Kohli for 2 tests, this would be the business. And so maybe that's what I'd be just talking about over and over and over again. And if I were one of the other players, maybe I'd be saying to myself, you know what? Everybody's saying once Virat's gone, we're cooked. No, I'm going to go. I'm going to do, maybe that would be the way that I'd be talking about it. And do you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if that is the way that India is talking about it.
Who do you think who are the players that you think can define the series from each side?
Well, look, Pat Cummins is a super freak. I think future captain of Australia. He can bowl, he can bat, he can field, he's polite. Stop it. It's ridiculous. Stephen Smith's obviously a very unusual player. One day, it's just going to stop. But at the moment, that end is not in sight. So I don't want to bowl to him. I think our bowlers are probably the difficult thing for any team in world cricket in a test context. When you consider, so Nathan Lyon, you can hear, he's a finger spinner. You can hear the ball going down the wicket. For me, occasionally bowls a little bit too straight, but it's not very often nowadays. He knows what he's doing. And I think we've got a couple of guys in reserve as well. We may have some batting issues, but I think our bowlers can sort most things out at the moment. Potentially the best bowling lineup. I've said this many times, actually. I think potentially the best bowling lineup in history of Australian cricket.
Wow. High praise indeed. Speaking of Steve Smith, I think India has still not worked out how to get him out in Test cricket, and not many teams have. How would Stuart McGill, the leg spinner, if he was playing today, bowl to a Steve Smith? And in general, what should India do to tackle him?
Look, there's a couple of guys that I played against through my career that have caused problems. First thing that I'd do if I was playing against Steve Smith is throw the ball to somebody else. The second thing that I think with guys who play with their hands, I'd probably make him reach for it. To be honest, it's not particularly attractive cricket, but I'd bowl maybe at him a bit and then make him reach, and set fields accordingly. So if you bowl at him, you know he's going to be banging you through the leg side. So you've got guys out there saving, runs. You might have a short mid-wicket in case it's off the ground, because remember, that far off the ground in a test match and you're out, because everybody can catch. But then I think making him reach for it on the offside is probably a good idea. I'd probably actually do, if I was bowling to Virat Kohli, I'd probably, and not me bowling to Virat Kohli, by the way, if I were captaining a team bowling to Virat Kohli, I'd be really looking very hard at two mid-wickets, short mid-wickets, and every now and then just holding one back slightly. And for me, changes of pace shouldn't be discernible from the hand. It should be hit you for four, hit you for four, hit you for four, whoops, that sort of thing. So I'd probably have a couple of guys. I'd have a guy maybe 3 or 4 metres in front of square leg, and then another straighter mid-wicket, both short, catching. And then what you can do is, because then there's no singles there either, and then you can have a guy out as well. But I think that these guys, because they are so gifted in terms of hand-eye coordination, they're used to hitting every single ball. Whereas a Dravid will keep you out every single ball, a Kohli or a Smith will try and hit out every ball. And I think that's your opportunity. So that's probably the way that I'd look at those two guys. I've got to be honest, though, I wouldn't really like to bowl to either of them.
Yeah.
Do you think Steve Smith has, has he gone past Punter?
No, he hasn't. No, he hasn't. Ricky Ponting's. I played with some good players. Ricky Ponting's the best batsman I ever played with. He was a great batsman, Rick. Steve Smith. Once again, we're talking Lara and Tendulkar. Steve Smith might be more devastating, maybe, but Ricky Ponting is class.
Interesting. Yeah. You talked about Stephen Smith a lot, obviously. Also, we talked about Pat Cummins, the vice captain. Now, Tim Paine right now is the captain, and how do you see his captainship moving forward? Do you think Australia at some point in time will want to reinstate Stephen Smith back?
Look, man, that's being talked about a lot over here, and I don't know what the German spy network is saying. Look, I much prefer, and I actually always said this even when he was captain, I much prefer Stephen Smith batting. I'm not interested in him being captain. He might be, and I think that's got a lot to do with the fact that for a long period of time in Australia, the best player becomes the captain. It's stupid. I'd much rather have the best player and then the best captain. Some players can do both. Some players shouldn't be asked to do both. And I think Steve Smith is, we've seen this last couple of months. He doesn't need to be captain to make runs. What's the saying? If it's not broke,
let's not fix it.
There we go.
Right. Okay. Now, again, a very small question there. So we all love Steven Smith, no? Even though I am here sitting here in Germany, originally from India, but a lot of us have felt the ban proportionate to whatever happened. So do you also feel it was a bit too harsh for him to be away from the game for so long?
Okay, 3 weeks later. So, okay, if an umpire in any first-class match feels that the integrity of the ball has been changed, he or she is obliged to change the ball. And by that, what that means is they don't have a choice. If they think the integrity of the ball has been changed, they must change the ball. In that match, the ball was not changed. Okay? The intention of the Australians was to change the integrity of the ball. There's no doubt about that. We know that now because they admitted to that with the sandpaper, blah, blah, blah. 3 weeks after that event, Sri Lanka was playing in a test match. The ball was changed. Sri Lanka refused to take the field. They get 3 weeks each. The coach got more time out of the game than any of the players involved. 18 months, 9 months, 12 months, absolute insanity. They changed the intention of the game. Let me just say this. How many times have you seen cricket players, men and women, walking onto the field with zinc all over their face?
Many times.
And how many times have you seen them walk off with the zinc on their face? Where do you reckon it's gone? Where has it gone?
Very little.
It's on the ball, man. It's like I found that entire episode to be actually, it held cricket back. I don't think that people should be able to. I think ideally you should allow players to use their fingernails. Maybe, a little bit of, zinc or whatever, but not bottle tops, not sandpaper. But then what I would do is I'd say, okay, cool, we're going to let you do that, but you get a new ball after 100 overs, not after 80 overs. Okay? Because this is the thing. Because this is the thing. If you scratch the ball, you're actually destroying the ball. And the leather gets softer and softer and softer. There's a window of time, probably, if you're very good at it and you don't wet the ball too much, there's probably 15, I'm going to leave it around about the 15 over mark. There's 15 overs where you can get it to go big, reverse. If you don't get wickets then and you've scratched it, then you're going to be stuck with a dog's ball.
For 75 overs.
That's it. So, yeah, man, you go for your life. Do whatever you want. Be very careful. And just because you scratch it up doesn't mean it's going to go, because then you've got to have the skills to keep your fingers up, get the seam in the right position, bowl at the appropriate pace, put the ball in the appropriate areas. So it's an incredibly skillful art. As far as I'm concerned, people watch cricket for runs, swing bowling, pace bowling, spin bowling. I would like to see them explore that.
Awesome.
I'm not, as I said, no bottle tops, no sandpaper, but it's worth a look because, and I think that the hysteria around the Smith, Warner, and the kid from Perth thing is it's just stupid. It ruined things, and it actually, I mean, when you look at some of the dumb new rule changes in the BBL, and yet you won't explore allowing people to make the ball swing. I don't understand. But anyway, that's my opinion. They shouldn't have been banned for that long. It wasn't right. But it's done now, and people are still doing it. In every single cricket team, at every single level, men and women, somebody is tampering with the ball. Every single day.
Sure.
And yet those guys got 18 months, 9 months, 12 months. Rubbish.
Okay. All right. So back to India-Australia series. So how do you see call it a series? What do you think will be the outcome?
3-0.
3-0?
Yep. Done.
Okay. 3-0.
Because the pressure. Yep. 3-0 because Virat is going to be under so much pressure in that first test. We still don't know if he's even going to play the first test because maybe his wife goes into labor earlier. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but the pressure is intense, and that's going to be a disruptive influence on the team, whether you like it or not. Australia 3-0. Done.
Sai, how do you see it?
Yeah, I think I agree. I'm just happy that he didn't, say that it would be a clean whitewash. Usually Glenn McGrath is famous for predicting 5-0
5-0
at the beginning, 4-0, 5-0 at the beginning of each series. So 3-0 is probably a better outcome the way things are looking.
Look, I know why McGrath said that. He always used to think that if you go into a series thinking you're going to lose a match, then you're being defeated. Yeah. That's the reason he used to say it. So that's
Vivek?
I think Stuart has been gracious, or has been. I think India is going to lose 4-0. I mean, I don't see India winning a test match. I mean, with the kind of, as Stuart mentioned, one of the best bowling lineups in the history of Australia. No chance, man. No chance.
Interesting. Great. Perfect. All right. I guess that's it.
Thanks very much, gentlemen.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
This was.
Hey, now we're going to reveal which mystery city you're at in Germany.
I am actually, I'm actually in a very good part of Germany.
No, he can't even answer the question, can he?
I'm southwest, near Freiburg.
Oh my God. Even now, I'm southwest. I'm
Freiburg.
southwest of the border.
Freiburg. It's called Freiburg.
Freiburg. There we go.
Yeah. So the most sunshine in Germany, around.
Wonderful.
Around the Black Forest.
So if we need to find you, we just go to Freiburg and then go 40 minutes due west, and then look for the tree on top of the hill, and
or call me.